doing. Most of us get that, right? And that's not to discount the fact that children do have their own will, and they will, buck authority and make bad decisions and all that. But this is a case of that. Jacob, you need to know where your kids are, what they're up to. Keep going on verse 2, please.
When Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her, he took her and lay with her by force. He was deeply attached to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the girl and spoke tenderly to her. So Shechem told his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this young girl for a wife."
Okay, now here's the weird morality of this city. So he takes her by force and has sexual relations with her. A terrible thing, right? A nasty business entirely. And then look at his attitude. It says that he loved the girl and spoke tenderly, but look at that statement, get me. Go get me. Gimme. That's not a loving statement. Come on in, kids. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. You're just only a few minutes late, so you didn't miss much. Actually, you missed all the fun stuff, though, all the fun facts. You missed them all. You can catch up on Facebook later. So right off the hop, we see the morality of the city is very odd. Firstly, like, he just takes her by force, and then he's like, go ahead and get her for me. As in, like, he recognizes there's a process that has to happen before he can take her as his wife. Really strange. Okay, keep going. Verse 5.
Now Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter, but his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob kept silent until they came in. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. Now the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved, and they were very angry because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, for such a thing ought not be done.
Okay, so now let's reel back on that for a second. Jacob kept silent until they came in. Again, he's a man of lacking action in this moment. Remind you of anybody else we've studied? Yeah, King David. Same thing. You're not taking action when you should. I mean, that should make your blood boil. And here he is, just like, well, I'll wait for my kids, the boys, to come in from the field, and let's see what that happens. So his lack of action here, what we're going to do, well, I'm going to get ahead of myself. This is mistake number 3. First mistake was don't settle next to a pagan city. Mistake number 2, don't let your daughter go out there by herself. Mistake number 3, take action when you're supposed to. Look at just, it's a consistent fact of no action. And watch, it gets worse. Keep going on, I guess we're on 8 then? Yeah.
But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him in marriage. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. Thus you shall live with us, and the land shall be open before you. Live and trade in it, and acquire property in it."
I'm going to hold there. Isn't that interesting? No apology. Sorry this thing went down. Disgraced your family like that. He's literally showing up basically just saying, let's just go ahead and intermarry. Now, is that a good or a bad idea for Jacob and his family group to intermarry with the other settlers in the area, the Shechemites? Bad idea. Why? That's right. Well, they're going to be a holy nation. What does holy mean? Set apart for who? For God. You're not to intermix and intermarry like that. I'm setting you apart as a holy nation. That's not being holy. And it's like no apology. It's like the weird morality of this. Like he knows this, the father says, Hamor, he's got to go in and he's got to like talk to Jacob like, hey, we want to take your daughter as a wife for my son. Yet like he gets the idea that there's like a protocol to it, but then there's just no, just total paganism. All right, keep going.
Shechem also said to her father and to her brothers, "If I find favor in your sight, then I will give whatever you say to me. Ask me ever so much bridal payment and gift, and I will give according as you say to me. But give me the girl in marriage."
So here now we're basically just like bartering. It's just name your price, right?
Now this is the
father
of
of Shechem.
That defiled
Yep.
Jacob.
And the father's coming to Jacob and saying, hey, I'm going to buy your daughter as a wife for my son, right? Total paganism, and it's really just this name your price type thing. I mean, it's
then Jacob himself came and said, it wasn't just the father.
No.
The father created the first offer, but then Jacob himself came for the second time.
And there's an interesting catch here in a few minutes we're going to get to. With regard to the dynamic of this engagement, it's really odd. And so as, modern Gentiles, we don't necessarily connect with some of the cultures and customs and things like that. And I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I just want to kind of power through Scripture because we have a bit to cover. So at this point, we believe that Jacob has probably left the room. And the reason we know that is going to be explained later on. But for now, let's go ahead and keep going where Jacob's sons are now going to answer Shechem and his father. So Michelle makes the point properly so that now he's in the room as well. So keep going if you would, please, Jeff.
But Jacob's sons answered Shechem and his father Hamor with deceit, because he had defiled Dinah, their sister, to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, to give disgrace to us. Only on this condition we will consent to you, if you will become like us, in that every male of you becomes circumcised.
So now this sounds like kind of a weird request, like the entire city. Because remember it says all males. What does all mean? All means all the time. It means all males. And that's sort of a weird request because you're like, well, it's just your daughter and why does all the rest have to go do that? But this wasn't an unknown custom at the time. Jewish people were not the only people that did circumcision back then. You had all kinds of different, the Egyptians, the Moabites, there's a bunch of people that were doing that at the time. So it's not necessarily like this really weird cultural thing that just the Hebrews did. It was known elsewhere. So the request, as strange as it sounds, isn't really all that crazy because it was kind of a known thing. And remember, at this point, Jacob's wealthy, right? He's got lots of sons. That was huge to have sons. 12 sons? That was awesome, man, back in the day, because sons were considered the high value because of what they were capable of doing in terms of working and hunting and protection and all that. And at the same time, he's got all these flocks. Remember, he told Esau, go ahead of me. I'll come up behind you because I got all these children. I got all these flocks that have offspring, the little ewes and the nursings and all that. And so I got to go slower because I got all. He's a wealthy man. So these guys are like, yeah, okay, that's all we got to do. A little snip and we're all good. And now we can intermarry with your daughters and absorb all of your wealth and these kinds of things and intermarry. So it sounds like a really weird thing. Like this day and age, everybody would come to me like, hey, so-and-so wants to marry that gal over there. Will you go ahead and do the, I'd be like, no. I don't know anything about that. I'm over here. So it seems like a weird request, but it is, but it really wasn't that crazy. And so what did it say how they answered him? They answered him with deceit. So they got a plan, right? Oh, they're sneaky-handed. Keep going, Jeff. You're doing awesome.
Then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters for ourselves, and we will live with you and become one people. But if you will not listen to us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and go. Now the words seemed reasonable to Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. The young man did not delay to do the thing, because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter. Now he was more respected than all the household of his father. So Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city and spoke to the men of their city, saying, these men are friendly to us, or friendly with us. Therefore, let them live in the land and trade in it. For behold, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters in marriage and give our daughters to them. Only on this condition will the men consent to us, to live with us, to become one people, that every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised.
Okay, so here we see the requesting in. Sounds like it's reasonable. So why are the perimeter people going along with it that aren't directly involved in this? Because they're looking at all of Jacob's wealth, all of his potential all of his family that can come in.
It's going to make their city greater.
Exactly. And he's only got the one daughter,
Yeah,
but
he only
there's...
has one daughter.
He's only got one daughter, but there's other females within his group that are not his blood offspring.
Yeah.
So that's why you keep thinking like, wait a minute, he only has one daughter, and then they're talking about daughters plural.
They can marry off their daughters to
Exactly.
a wealthy man.
Go both ways, So that's all good stuff for them. That's why you see like why would everybody else be like, okay, sounds good, let's go ahead, when you're like, that's going to be painful and it's going to incapacitate you for a couple of days. Let's find out why. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty tough. I don't know. Just kidding.
They don't have the pain medication you have today.
That's true. I don't have any of that. And probably a certain because of infection. Like you don't have antibiotics back then, So there's some risk involved. So it must have been a pretty good benefit for them. All right, let's keep going then. I think I stopped you at the end of 22.
Will not their livestock and property and all the animals be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will live with us. All who went out of the gate of his city listened to Hamor and to his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised. All who went out of the gate of the city.
Okay, and so here comes the deception. This is the part in the movie where it goes dun dun dun. All right, keep going. I just set the stage.
Now it came about on the third day, when they were in pain.
Oh. Yeah, now we're on. It's on like Donkey Kong. Sorry, keep going.
But two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came upon the city unawares and killed every male.
How many males?
Oh.
Every freaking one. They're crafty. using God's sacred ceremony, circumcision, in a sinful way to set the stage for a massacre. Took the whole city out. Now we're talking about between 1,500 and 2,500 people in this city, half of which are male, so we're talking 1,200, something like that. First of all, that's a lot of killing. That's a job. You think about how much rage and anger would have to be in you to keep going for arguably hours to wipe out a city like that?
It wasn't even all 12. It was just
No, the two. Simeon and Levi are the only ones that get started. Can you imagine the amount of rage that would take? I mean, this day and age, we talk about that, like, oh, I'm so angry, I'm going to kill you. We don't properly really give value to life, like we talked about last week, because of our language. And English is such a poor language, and we don't do a very good job of using it. Not that I'm trying to be harsh on anybody; it's just a fact of the matter. It's that kind of a thing where we don't think about the gravity of this. That's nasty business if you think about that. To have that kind of anger in your heart, to go take out not just the people who did wrong directly, but everybody associated.
Well, consider the fact that something were to happen to your daughter. How would you feel?
Yeah, your blood boils, man. I mean, you got see red. That's it, and it's on.
And
You
that's
know,
probably what they're seeing now.
that's my guess. At the same time, I mean, we're talking two guys over a city of 1,200 minimum males, probably more. That's going to take a while. At some point, does the rage not? The adrenaline wears off. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking like. It's the gravity of this situation is much larger than maybe if we just read right through it, we don't think about that. I mean, if you just think about that for a minute in your mind's eye, think about that going house to house, door to door. Brought you some ice. Doesn't feel good. All right. Sorry, keep going. Yeah. Put some leaves on it. Get some dirt. Okay, keep going, please.
They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the edge of the sword and took Dinah from Shechem's house.
Hold there. Took her from where?
Shechem's house.
They hadn't even agreed yet to the marriage. He already had her in his home. So he was kind of caring for her, right?
Fortunately.
Yeah, which is, well, under his will, effectively. It's probably part of the rage that fuels Simeon and Levi because she's still under his household and care. We have not agreed to marry her off yet because you hadn't done all the stuff yet. We were still making that decision about doing the circumcision thing. That's only 3 days later. And he's already got her in his home, arguably has had her the whole time. Just again, the immorality of that pagan nation. It's interesting to see that, though, that there's such this weird cultural thing that we don't necessarily get. Yeah?
In 25, it says nothing about pain. When they were in pain, are they referencing the town
The males in the town.
that got circumcised?
Yep.
So even though that there was really no decision made, they went ahead and did it anyway
In good faith.
in good faith?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the idea. Arguably, there's probably more behind the text than what we're reading. There was more there, more conversations. We don't see everything. It's possible. But at this point, we're going to find out what Jacob thinks about all this. And so, yeah, you're beautiful. Thank you. Keep
I
going.
think it's genius.
What is?
Because the
Well,
fact
yeah.
that he cut them off first and then went in, may put them in pain, and then went in and killed them because
Oh, yeah.
Easier to kill.
If there's only...
it's not even about the easier kill. It's about the fact that he cut off what they were misusing.
Mhm.
You know, he wounded them where they were.
Where they were sinning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
that
they-
was like a
and that was
pragmatic
not
consequence.
A fun process.
Yeah.
And so that was like, haha, now we're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a double-double. I mean, it's like, yeah, we're going to hit you where you're sinful, where your immorality is, and then I'm going to take your life. But I'm going to let you suffer for 3 days. Yeah, I mean, these guys are... We think about the ancient world, and sometimes we think like they're not that smart, you know, a bunch of Neanderthals running around. These guys are pretty sharp. You know what I mean? Like, they know what's going down. Yeah, thank you, Michelle, for that. Go ahead and keep going, Jeff.
Jacob's sons came upon the slain and looted the city.
Look at that. Look at his other sons, the rest of the sons. What did they do? Oh, everybody's dead? All right, so we'll take all this stuff. There's nobody here. Granted, the women and children are still there, right? So they just come in and like, hey, remember how you took our daughter and or our sister and like took her in your household? Yeah, your stuff, that's all mine now. All right, keep going. Thank you.
Because they had defiled their sister. They took their flocks and their herds and their donkeys and that which was in the city and that which was in the field. And they captured and looted all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives, even all that was in their houses.
Okay, so they came in and took everything. It's a pagan nation.
Children and
Children and wives. It's a pagan nation. So you're pulling in all the stuff of that pagan nation. What kind of stuff do you think is getting pulled into you?
Pagan stuff.
Pagan worship. Likely. All kinds of that stuff. Jacob, where are you? This is not good. You're bringing in sinful stuff.
Well, the people too, because, the
Yeah.
wives and the children, because they're part of that too.
Yeah, they're not. No, you shouldn't be doing that. And so again, it's Jacob. Like, what are you doing? You're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. Okay, what does Jacob do? Let's find out. Keep going, please.
And my men, being few in number, they will gather together against me and attack me, and I will be destroyed, I and my household. But they said, should he treat our sister as a harlot?
Yeah. So right now we can kind of surmise from this that Jacob was probably not in the room when Simeon and Levi made the deal, right? Said, "Oh, go get circumcised and it'll be cool, and we'll all be buddies," right? So Jacob didn't know about that because he's so upset about it, or if he did know and he just let it happen. But his lack of action created a hole that those two men felt like they needed to fill with something, right? The lack of action. This is wrong. Nothing's being done about it. It's just got a hole, and so they decided to go fill it.
Well, now Jacob's blaming Simeon and Levi for Jacob's lack of action.
His own lack of leadership.
But I don't think quite understands, if I read it right, he's worried about everybody gathering together to kill him or destroy him, but everybody's dead.
The neighboring settlements, Canaanites and the Perizzites. These are the Shechemites, which Hammer's son was named Shechem, and then the city Shechem, and within that is the Shechemites. So it's get a little confusing there if you don't get the word straight. But really, and he's what is he worried about? Ultimately, Jacob is. Is he worried about correcting his son's bad action? No, he's worried about his own skin. What did it say? I don't want to get destroyed because my people are few in number. They will get together against me and attack me, and I'll be destroyed. All right. So now we've got the backstory to Genesis 35, which we're going to go ahead, and this is actually kind of the meat of the lesson this week. Jump back to 34 just because I really wanted to set the stage on it so that we get a better understanding, because now we're going to see Jacob show up, and God shows up, and God starts. It's so, like, it chokes you up, because even in all of Jacob's sinfulness and lack of taking action, God still blesses him, and he still uses him, and he still honors his covenants. We serve a faithful God. That is awesome. I pray that all the time. Like, Lord, thank you for being faithful to us when I'm not faithful to you. I'm not perfectly faithful by any stretch. Any stretch. None of us are. Somebody new, if you would jump in on 35. We're going to start going through that. And then let me know, whoever you are, raise your hand, and I'll let you know it. I'll change the translation so it matches here on the screen. Anybody?
I'll read it off the screen.
Yeah? Okay. And as always, like I said, I'm going to jump in and interrupt every 5 seconds, more than likely.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
And God said to Jacob, "Rise up and go to Bethel and live there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, "Put away the foreign gods which are among you, and purify yourselves and change your garments."
Hold there. Purify yourselves and change your garments. Why? Any thoughts on that? Why? I know why you got rid of all the pagan stuff, right? Get rid of the foreign gods, because we don't have 10 commandments yet, right? This is earlier in Genesis. But we do have God's commands to us to have no other God before him. So, I'm an angry, jealous God. He talks about that sometimes. So why? Okay, so I get rid of the foreign gods, right? Okay, makes sense. Why are we purifying ourselves and changing our garments?
Preparedness, getting ready to
Sunday's best.
What's that? Put on your Sunday's bed? Actually, that, in my view, is partly it. Partly in the Old Testament, your outer garments were a symbol of where you were, like they would put on sackcloth and ashes when they were upset or something like that, or they would tear their robes to let you know they were angry. It was an outward expression of like kind of what was going on inside you. They're being changed. They're being transformed. Possibly also because at least Levi and Simeon probably need to change their clothes.
Yeah.
Right.
They've been busy killing people. Probably need to change your clothes. So, put away the foreign gods among you, purify yourselves, change your garments. Pragmatic, right? There's things, and they talk about God moves in mysterious ways, and that's true, but he also works in practical ways, Let's keep going, please.
"And let us arise and go to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God who answered me in the day of distress.
Okay, interesting. So first of all, you'd think he'd want to destroy them, right? Like burn them. He just hides them, buries them. It's kind of weird. The reason for the earrings, the estimation is that they probably had pagan symbols in them, stuff like that. Used to maybe they were like lucky charms, that kind of stuff. That's why they get rid of the earrings, got rid of that stuff. But you notice, go ahead.
Why didn't he get rid of those when he got rid of the pagan gods? Did he hide the foreign gods too?
Now, it sounds to me like this is all basically, so I interrupted it, but it's basically all one statement of occurrence. So it's get rid of the foreign gods, purify yourself, change your garments, get rid of all your little earrings or little doodads that may have any pagan symbolism or ritual issues to it. Let's get rid of all that. So that's all kind of one thing going on. But the nice thing about this is we start to see Jacob is actually listening. He's actually listening. He's taking action. Now he's finally starting to do something. Because what did he do? He said, get up and arise, go to Bethel. So he says, all right, everybody, get up. So he actually does follow through with what he's been told to do. It's almost like you got to lay it out for him so clearly, you know.
He's more of a follower than a leader.
Yeah, which is interesting because he's going to effectively be the head of the nation of Israel. 400 years later, they're 2 million strong. Men, not including women and children. That's a huge nation. That's a lot of people. I mean, not to us. I mean, necessarily. That's not even the size of Portland, I don't think, is it? Is Portland more than 2 now?
Yeah,
No, not yet. Okay, never mind. So we're a little bit under that. But you get the idea. It's not like it's half of the East Coast, you know. It's population density is more over there. Yeah, okay, keep going. I'm talking too much. Number 5.
Okay, as they journeyed, there was a great terror upon the cities which were around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan. He and all the people who were with him.
So wait, when I first read this, I thought it said there was a great terrier, and I was like, some dog? What the heck? Oh, terror. They were all scared. So as they journeyed, there was a great terror upon the cities that were around them. Huh?
These guys just wiped out Shechem. What are they going to do to us? They're moving in our direction.
Yeah, right. Lay low.
But what was Jacob's response to Simeon and Levi when he scolded them?
Everybody's gonna get against us.
Everybody's going to come and get us because we're... So, to me, that's God's provision.
Yeah.
God caused a terror in the land. The other Perizzites and the other Canaanites, that's a huge people group. They could take out Jacob. That wouldn't have been that hard. There's a huge people group. And if they had a reason to fear him, especially if they knew about the deceptiveness, now it might be a ethical cleansing here. I think God provided for Jacob to go where he had commanded him to go by creating terror in a people group so they wouldn't attack him.
Well, they might not have really known what went down, right? So
Might not.
They just know that this smaller group of people wiped out this whole city.
And now they're on the move.
Right.
Oh, they're not coming for us. Could be. I think that it's God commanded Jacob to go somewhere, and God, if he's going to give you a direction in your life and he's going to command you to do something, he's going to equip you along the way. God doesn't call the equipped. He calls the willing, right? He's going to equip you along the way. If you're being called to something and it's not showing up yet, it probably just means you need to have some patience in the matter. Anybody here have a lot of patience, is really good with that? Yeah, I have tons of patience, so much. And don't you ever pray for patience for me, Jeff. I'll get you. Don't pray for patience for me. Pray for energetic. Yeah, don't pray for long suffering. Yeah, so I think that God just provides for him. He's telling him, hey, I want you to go over here. Jacob's now being obedient, and God's saying, cool. I'm gonna make sure that you get there. I'm gonna get you safe there. To me, it's pragmatic. Okay, keep going. Where are we here? Now, this is where, whoops, I went too far.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, keep going there, Nathan, if you would. Thank you very much.
So he built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, because God had revealed himself to him when he had fled from his brother. Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried below Bethel. Under the oak, it was named Elon, that place.
Elon Bakuth, which means the weeping oak. It's kind of a weird statement there just to get Deborah out of nowhere. Deborah's old now, so this is Rebekah's nurse. So Jacob's wife, Rebekah, right? Not Rebekah, I'm sorry. Jacob's wife is Leah and Rachel.
Yeah.
Get my name right. Rebekah's nurse. So this lady's older. There's no real clear reason why this verse is thrown in there, but there's a lot of debate around it. You can read up on the commentary later if you're interested. There's some interesting statements about the symbolism that goes along with this. I'm not going to do it right but we can talk about that at some point if you guys really, really want to. But look, he's being obedient again. What does he do? He builds an altar, and he calls the place El Bethel, because God had revealed himself. El meaning, El, usually in the Old Testament, if you see E-L, it means God, especially capital E. God Bethel, so God had revealed himself when he fled from his brother, fled from Esau to Bethel, or Bethel, depending on how you pronounce it. Okay, and now God's going to bless him. So Jacob's name is now Israel. Wait, isn't his name Israel earlier in 32?
But he's starting to.
Now he's starting to do Israel tendencies. He's not reverting back to Jacob tendencies. He's called Jacob twice as often from 32 forward than he is Israel, because he's Jacob twice as often than he is Israel. It's like when we're saved, we're called into a new sainthood, a new priesthood, but we revert to old habits sometimes, right? We revert to old thinking. We revert to making decisions out of fear, as if God isn't enough for us. All right, let's go ahead and read down through the blessing here.
You going?
Yeah.
Then God appeared to Jacob again, and he came from that place.
Padan Aram.
Yeah, and blessed him. God said to him, "Your name is Jacob. You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name." Thus he called him Israel. God also said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply.
Can do.
Company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come forth from you. The land which I give you to Abraham and Isaac, I will give it to you, and I will give the land." It's getting smaller now.
Yeah, to your descendants after you. Like, what does Jacob mean? The name Jacob, remember?
Cheats or cheater.
Cheats or supplants.
Yeah.
When Jacob was born, he was right behind Esau, and what was his body position? He was grabbing onto his heel. In the Old Testament time, when you did a business transaction, it would be common that to seal the deal, it wasn't a handshake, you'd actually exchange a sandal. So if you and I were going to do business together and we came to an agreement and all that, I would take my sandal off, you'd take yours off, and we would exchange a sandal. And that was an outward symbol that we were doing business. It's actually Bible, you can read on that. However, if you had a business partner who didn't agree with that and wanted to stop you, he would grab you by the heel. And he would say, "Well, hold on, let's not let this sandal out, because we're not happy with this agreement or whatever yet," right? So this is the idea of naming your child cheater or supplanter. Somebody who supplants, that would be the grabbing of the heel. That's a supplanting of the heel. They grab that and stop you. So Jacob is, that's the name of what that means, because he was grabbing Esau's heel. But it'd be kind of like, you know how people say, "Oh, that kid's trouble." Like imagine his name was actually Trouble. Like you'd have to carry that around all day. You could do something right. And you're like, "Good job, Trouble." I'm going to shake this nickname. It's the same thing. He's saying that your name has a lot to do with your attitude. And now that your attitude's changing, your name's changing. But he's going to revert back to Jacob tendencies again and again and again, like we all do, right? Anybody here got it all together perfectly? No. Yeah. Whack. Isn't that funny, like when people joke about God like hitting you with a lightning bolt and people like lean away? Like, what do you think, his aim is bad? Like,
No, but you don't want to be close to it.
it's going to hit you with a bullseye,
Visual,
you know?
Shock.
You're like, "Oh, I don't want to get hit."
If you know electricity, it arcs, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's true. It might jump. Yeah. Whoa, by extension. All right.
I want to be near that when that happens.
All right, let's finish off 13 through the end of 15.
All right. 13.
Yeah. Then God went up from him.
From him in the place where he had spoken with him, Jacob set up a pillar of the place where he had spoken with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured out a drink offering on it. That goes anywhere.
That goes
He
anywhere.
also poured oil on it. So Jacob named the place where God had spoken with him Bethel.
Bethel. All right, so Jacob, good job. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's honoring God. It's apparent that God showed up in physical form, because it says God went up from him in the place where he'd spoken with him. So that was kind of cool. I don't know. That'd be weird to be like, the Bible talks about you may have entertained the company of angels and not known it. That'd be weird, like when time comes, you having to find out, like, "Oh, that guy was an angel? How cool." I don't know. So that's the end of what we're going through with regard to this story. And again, the whole idea behind it is you can do something or you can do nothing. So I would challenge you in the last bit of class here, I just want to kind of have an open conversation in a minute about what does it look like where we're realizing we're doing nothing. And you don't have to necessarily bring an example out of your life or anything like that, but it's more like an introspective question. The idea is, what do we do with all this? We come to church every Sunday, and we come to class, and we glad hand each other and pat each other on the back, and we're glad to be saved, and we know we're not perfect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, why? What is the purpose of it? What are we going to do with it? And purpose in my thinking of us coming here collectively, corporately, learning, is to change something in us so that we do something different, have a better life experience, serve kingdom better. So where is it that you're doing nothing and you need to be doing something? I don't know what the answer is for you. You probably already know it. Holy Spirit. And if you're not sure and you need to find out, ask for conviction. Holy Spirit will definitely tell you. Oh yeah, don't worry about that. It's like praying for patience. You know how you get patience? Suffering through struggles. That's how you get patience. That's why I don't pray for patience. I pray for ease. And I pray for healing, right? I don't even pray for strength, because you know how you get strength? You got to work that muscle. You got to strain it. Like, no, I want energy, Lord. Energize me. Very clear about how I pray. So yeah, where are we doing nothing? We should be doing something, you know. I try to catch that in myself. I catch myself in a little bit of laziness every now and then. We had the baby last night, so I'm a little off today because I didn't sleep super well. Because like, you know, like she's one, you know, she's a healthy little chunker, but still you're always worried about like rolling over on her, or, you know, she's smothered in the blankets kind of a thing, so you don't really sleep that well. You're still kind of, you know, on edge, whatever. So I'm a little tired today, but I'll survive. But it's that same thing when it was like, you know, this morning she's up, she's fussing, she's moving around, and I was like, part of me was just like, oh, babe, she probably needs her diaper changed, you know. You know, so, what do you want to do about it? So I was like, okay, well, obviously, I'm going to get up and get her a bottle then. Oh, okay, so I get up and get her the bottle. She didn't have to tell me that. I just knew I needed to. Because there's never, the second that you are trying to put something else off on somebody, and sometimes it's appropriate, right? Maybe it's a worker, and you have to go give them instruction. Here, you go do this. You know, sometimes it's right. But sometimes, and I would say, you know, like we did dinner the other night, and part of me was like, well, I'll get the dishes later. And I was like, no. Second that I was ready to put that off on somebody else or another time, I was like, no, do them now. You know, simple things like that. And obviously that's more of like just the daily domestic type stuff. Granted, this I'm ideally talking about larger like relational conversations with your kids, with your coworkers, with your spouse, with whomever. You know, it's lately I catch myself, I'll go to Albertsons or whatever, we'll go get, you know, buy food for dinner or whatever, and oh, they're so-and-so, I really don't want to have to talk to them right now, I'm tired, it's been a long day, you know, like, okay, go talk to them. You know, it's almost like I need to fight that in myself. All right, so I messed up last week on the Weekly Greekly, and we only talked about the word rakah, which anybody remember what rakah was? Remember, it's not a definition of a person's behavior, it's about an attitude of the heart. Remember what that was?
Anger.
Contentment. Not contentment, contemptment, to be contempt in someone. So that was rakah, which is in the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, but it's not actually a Greek word. The root for that word in Greek is moros. That's the Weekly Greekly. What's that? Huh?
Doom or fate.
Yeah, moros is that idea of idiot or foolish, which is where we get our English word moron, or molon, depending on who you grew up on the east side with. Yeah, you molon. So yeah, moros is the Weekly Greekly, and it is assigned to the word moron for us. So with that said, that's basically through 34 and 35. Anybody have any questions on that, or any inputs or takes, or thoughts on how the week's going to move by differently now that we've looked at Jacob and when he was not doing stuff he should have been doing? Anything that'll strive you into action someplace? Not that you necessarily have to answer right now or share with us. You know, there's a certain amount of things that are whatever, personal to yourself. But the idea is to introspectively look inside and see, where do I need to take action? Because I'll be dead honest. I 100% agree and give credit to the fact that it's harder to live in this generation right now than it was when I was in my 20s, right? 20 years ago, life was easier. It just was. And for a number of different reasons, right? Some of it's social economic structure, some of it's the technology that we have, some of it's just the fact that we're getting closer to end times. That doesn't give an excuse then, though, for this generation to be like, oh, well, it's harder for me, so I don't have to try. No, it means we have to try harder. Part of the reason it's hard is because if we could do it all on our own, we wouldn't rely on God, right? I'd be my own God. So I recognize that it's a harder world to live in. But that doesn't excuse it to suddenly say, now you don't have to do anything about it. No, it means we need to actually be investing into our kids more so because we're raising them to live in a world we didn't grow up in. And most of us have the mindset of do it the way we did back when we were in our 20s or whatevers because we're wanting to raise them for that time. That time doesn't exist anymore. We're in a new time, and the time is going to be changing. So when your kids are in their teens or their early adulthood, we're not raising them for right now. We need to be raising them for 5 years from now or 10 years from now. You know, that kind of a thing. So, with that said, we're almost done. When does first bell ring?
10:35, I think.
Okay.
10:30 and then 10:45.
And thanks to Derek in the booth.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Derek. Bible or no? Satan has a throne in modern-day Turkey.
No.
Yes.
Do something or do nothing. You asked, I said.
Yeah, that's good. You got to start somewhere. You got a 50-50 on this one. Best odds in the house. Nathan and Jesse are the only two that have an opinion on that? It's true. I'll prove it to you. Revelations 2:12. To the angel of the church of Pergamum I write, I know your works and where you dwell, where Satan's throne is. Oh, interesting. That is actually a place you can visit, and it is called the Temples of Pergamon. That is what they're referencing in Revelations 2:12. It used to be a very healthy and huge, vibrant city. It was a hub for culture. It was a hub for commerce. All kinds of different types of thinking was coming out of there. And this is where the argument is, of course, this is way speculation. Don't hear what I'm not saying, that this is where the Antichrist will come from. We don't know that. It's an interesting thought, though. Yeah?
Well, that's a misleading statement because Satan has a throne in modern-day Turkey.
This is inside of Turkey. Pergamum is a...
Bible or no, and
yeah.
it would be no because it doesn't say where it's at.
It does, actually. I didn't pull it up. You can read further in it. It's in the beginning part of Revelation when he starts to the... Well, he does say... he does say to the church in Pergamum,
Oh, which would be,
you know,
okay.
where Satan's throne is. So we know that. So interesting, right? And again, the only reason I bring this stuff up is because it's just good to know our Bible a little bit better. If you're anything like me, you definitely don't have a good command of the Bible like you should. That's half of the reason I choose to come up here and teach is because it keeps me in the Word and it keeps me studying. Things like this are interesting to me. End times are coming. I don't know that they're coming this year or 10 years or 1,000 years from now. But, I mean, the projection civilization collapse is like 1,100 years from now, so, but it's outside of my lifetime. So anyway, yeah, interesting. Satan has a throne there, apparently. So that was a yes. Okay, number 2.
Yes.
By the way, we're in Revelations this week for this. You are strongly urged to keep clothes on and nearby during Jesus' return. Bible or no?
Yes.
Got a couple yeses. All right, well, let's pull it up and see.
Is it like Jacob where it says, cleanse yourself and change your clothes? Jesus is coming.
Whoops.
At the sign of the horn, we're like, I gotta go change my clothes.
All right, somebody read that for me.
Look, I come like a thief. Blessed is the one who says awake and remains clothed. So do not go naked and be shameful.
Shamefully exposed. So it really talks about
I was reading.
comes like a thief in the night. Make sure you got some clothes nearby. Don't want to go outside naked when the Lord returns, apparently. So, Revelation 16:15 for those that were curious.
So you mean have clothes on when you go to sleep?
Probably. I don't know. Maybe that's an argument for jammies. You know, oh, Jesus jammies. That's a business idea. Yeah, they already got that one with the weird jumper thing. Yeah, or whatever that is. They got the underwear. Isn't that like head to toe? And you have to it's a weird marriage ritual that they do with that too. Isn't it something like that? I don't know. I've just heard of it. I don't know much about it. All right, so, yeah, have clothes nearby in case Jesus comes back because we don't know when that's going to be. Awesome. That's class. Are you having fun with that? Share with the class, Giggle Puss. Secrets are no fun. Now you must tell everyone.
Oh my gosh.
All right, does somebody want to pray us out of here? I think the first bell went, so we're about ready to get out of here. I don't have to. I guess I can do it. Or am I allowing you guys to rely on me too much for that? Should I just stand here in the quiet?
You can just choose somebody.
Okay. Get my Pokeball out. I choose you.
I choose you, Aunt Missy.
Dear Lord Jesus, we just thank you for this time that we're able to come together and learn more about your word and who you are to us. And we just ask that you would help us to take what we've learned today into our tomorrow and the rest of the week. And we just praise you for just giving us the opportunity to come together. And we just ask that you bless us and keep us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, dear. Nice job. I'll give you a gold star. I think I even have one somewhere.